Hi, I'm Stephen Lart. I'm one of the specialist financial advisors here at Wesleyan Financial Services. Today I'm joined with Jawad from Stanford Finance, and we'll just be discussing topics regarding the dental industry. Yeah, Jawad, explain yourself to us.
Yeah, I'm Jawad Anjum, founder and managing director of the Stanford Group,
Yeah.
that consists currently of a few different entities. The Stanford Finance that helps support dentists obtain finance to buy practices or
Hmm.
set up practices, as well as Stanford Medical, that is a practice sales agency
Okay.
that helps people exit and sell their practices.
Hmm.
And thirdly, the Stanford Foundation, which is an organization that supports the community
Yeah.
and gives back.
Perfect. Nice to hear. And obviously, you mentioned you are a specialist, just like I'm a specialist financial advisor. What makes you a specialist in your industry?
Well, a handful of things really. One, being in the sector
Yeah.
for almost 13, 14 years now,
Hmm.
getting to understand it in depth and in
Yeah.
detail, the intricacies, but also a few years ago, setting up a dental practice of my own.
Okay.
And that was more based on the background and experience I had
Yeah.
within that space, and I thought, "Ooh, I'd like to set one up." Never thought it would happen, but then the opportunity arose, and
Nice.
we got it done. So an aspect and quite a unique point within
Yeah.
myself and my company, that there's not many financial institutions that can say, "Oh, we're not only a specialist in finance, but we've run, set up, and operated
Yeah.
a dental practice as well ourselves." Um, so yeah, I'd like to think that it makes me sort of the specialist of specialists to a large extent. But yeah, that's sort of my uh, detail behind how and why.
No, definitely. Like I said, I'm a specialist. All my clients are dentists as well. It's just that conversation you have with them. It just makes it that much higher, I guess. Do you find that as
Absolutely.
well? Or
Absolutely. I think it's so important. I mean, I've worked within a handful of organizations in the past in
yeah.
which there's a differing opinion in
Hmm.
terms of being specialists.
Yeah.
You know, there's people with a mindset and approach that you're tunneling yourself.
Cool.
You're narrowing your target audience and market.
Yeah.
And I see it as the complete opposite. You're either going to be dealing with a generalist market, but not
Of course.
being able to really resonate with them, or you're going to be a specialist and you can speak to them on a level that
That's it.
you can't with generalists. So, you know, it was a proven thing within previous businesses that I've worked in,
Yeah.
that actually somebody that specializes in and can really resonate is so much more likely to win business.
Of course.
And we analyze this on a regular basis because it's such a common debate that you're closing yourself off if you specialize. And we checked it end of 6 months, end of the year,
Yeah.
looking at fee income, revenues, who's doing the more business. And I'd say 90% of the time it was the specialists.
100%. Like all my clients are dentists. It's just that conversation you're having with them. I think that once you're talking their language, you understand them inside and out, they will come to you. So it's great you're doing that. In regards to obviously your clients, what are the market trends you've kind of seen recently?
There's been a handful of changes within NHS, private.
Yeah.
Um, are people still interested in and looking at NHS contracts anymore? And they're becoming less
Mhm.
popular. I've
And why
got.
do you think that? Like,
I think it's just so difficult to deal with, and the demands
mhm,
and everything else that comes with it. I mean, you've got contracts that are
yeah,
NHS contracts that are paying handsomely.
of course.
But with the activity that comes with it, with the timelines, with the activity within the
Yeah,
actual practice, and the way operationally a practice looks due to that,
true.
not everybody wants to be a part of.
I think 100%. But then I think it is a great place to start for, especially for a young dentist. I
Yeah,
think for them to get some experience, to get some knowledge. But like you mentioned, the burnt out feeling, the stress,
yeah,
it's increasing. I speak to so many clients and they just tell me about how stressful it was working with NHS, now moving to private. But like you said, they do have good contracts. They are out there.
yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see what happens over the years with the NHS, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I was with a client yesterday, and it's a client that I've been working with for the past 3, 4
Mhm.
months now, and they had, probably one of the highest UDA valued contracts that
Oh,
I'd
nice.
come across in probably 12 months at least, and they were transitioning to private.
Oh, wow.
Now, initially, when they told me, I said, "Oh, you're handing back such a valuable contract.
Yeah.
Is this the right thing?" And we analysed it, we went through
Mhm.
the data, we went through the detail, and they sort of looked at it and said, "Yes, it is."
It is.
Um, and the vision, the sort of approach to their business and what
Yeah.
they wanted their business to look like was not NHS, and that's fundamentally what it came down to.
Wow.
I did a valuation for them a couple of weeks ago,
Mhm.
and it was probably on par with what it was when it was
Okay.
NHS, which is actually really impressive
Yeah, of course.
for a practice to be in that position where they say, "There you go, NHS contract, back to local area teams, off you go.
Yeah, of
We're turning everything into private," which isn't easy in itself.
course.
They've managed to transition it over a space of time, slowly,
Yeah,
gradually, um, and it's proving to be the right decision for them. And I think potentially more and more will
will come
start to
from.
do that.
I think definitely, but I think you have to have the right things in place. So if that's limited companies, making sure you have a good accountant with you, just because obviously making that transition is a huge transition,
Mhm.
especially with the NHS contract. I
Yeah,
think obviously giving up an NHS contract can reduce your goodwill value as well. So obviously in the long run, it could be much more beneficial, and marketing is huge as well.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think speaking to specialists and making sure they understand the move, what are the implications? As I had a client once who planned to move fully private, but they were set up completely wrong.
Hmm.
And just from speaking to them, I was like, well, okay, we need to have this as a limited company just
Yeah,
because of the amount of partners they had in the business. And again, I was like, what is your exit plan? Is it 5 years, 10 years, 20 years?
yeah.
Because if it is something like 5 years, I was like, there's no point leaving this NHS
Mhm.
contract. So I think it's all tied with the goals of the client. Um, but that's why coming to a specialist is key, I guess. Of
Again, you touched on the same point, which is if you in your space weren't a specialist, didn't understand dentistry as well as you
course.
guys do as a firm and yourself
Yeah.
individually, can you have that conversation of
Yeah, no,
what's your
100%.
vision?
It's true.
What do you want to be doing in 5 years, 10 years? When are you going to retire?
Yeah, of
What does retirement look like?
course.
You can't really have them conversations in detail without really knowing the sector and
Mhm.
industry. And if you do, it's very generic. It's
Yeah.
just when do you want to retire? And what your plans for retirement. Whereas you can actually plan exits and structures and give the relevant advice that you
100%.
that you need to.
Yeah, obviously you mentioned specializing and being a specialist. So you must see quite a lot of deals come into your place for dentists. What would you say is a good looking deal for a dentist? What should they be looking for a dental practice if they are interested in purchasing a practice?
So I had a conversation with a potential client on the drive down,
Okay,
uh,
nice.
and they are looking to buy their first practice.
Mhm.
Now, there's not necessarily an ideal
Yeah,
because preference is really
of
important.
course.
This particular client is actually one in a mix, so they do want an NHS contract,
Okay.
which, as much as we talked about earlier, that it's becoming less common,
Mhm.
it's still there.
Yeah,
And there is still some demand. And I say some demand, it's probably still
of
pretty
course.
strong, just not as strong
As before.
as it has been
Yeah,
historically. Um, but we work with, and we're a relationship based, customer centric organization.
definitely.
And we are about doing everything we can to meet the client's needs.
Of
As
course.
same as yourself.
Yeah.
It's about understanding what they want.
Mhm.
Now, where it gets a little bit tricky is that what they think they want or what they think is right is not always the case.
Yeah, that's true.
It's sometimes just sort of through rose tinted glasses, and they think that that is and that looks perfect.
Yeah,
So I always do a little bit of drilling down, understanding. Okay,
good.
so you said you wanted a mixed contract, but what does that look like?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, a mixed practice. What does that look like? How much of it do you want it to be NHS? What does a UDA rate need to be?
yeah,
How much private income needs to be within that,
of course.
and what type of private? treatments and fee income as a whole
Yeah.
does that need to entail? And from that, we then find for each particular client what that looks like.
Mhm.
Now, if I was to give a generic sort of what everybody says is, yeah, I want a contract and it needs to have a £35 plus UDA rate and it needs to have 10,000
Yeah,
UDAs and I want £500,000 in private income um, with 3 to 4 surgeries and it needs to be in a large city. That's sort of the ideal.
ideal.
But are you going to find that?
But on the flip
Um,
side, I have clients who are in remote places and they're doing just as well as someone in a large city because there's a lot of demand there, a lot of competition
yeah,
as well. So again, it's just finding that right balance, I think. And
yeah,
like you mentioned, having the conversation, just because we've seen a lot of practices,
yeah,
asking them, okay, what is the contract rate? What happens if your associate is off sick? Do you have
yeah,
any insurances in place? So these are questions I always say to the client because I never want a client to come to me and say, Stephen, why did you not tell me about this?
yeah, yeah,
So when I speak to a client about, okay, you're interested in the practice, I always make sure they understand, okay, what anomalies could we have and how can we get over them?
yeah.
I think that's a very big topic for them as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. The financial analysis at that
Yeah, of
particular point and pre taking something on is so, so important.
course.
Um, and I'm going to mention the specialist broker and specialist finance
Yeah.
point again. I don't want to bore people with that, but it is so important because if you go to a generalist and maybe the same within your sector and say, I'm buying this business,
Yeah.
it might be dental practice, but buying a business, I'm buying it for this, and this is what I need. It'll almost be execution only to a large extent.
Of course.
And there you go. Same with the finance sector and brokers that you're buying a business for £1 million.
Yeah.
We can get you, or you need £800,000. Here you go.
Hmm.
Here's the money. This is where we can get for you. This is what it looks like. We always like to go a step further.
Okay.
I've talked clients out of buying businesses, and that's me talking myself out of a deal as well,
Yeah, of course.
because I'm not charging for the conversation that I'm having with the client,
Yeah.
the initial conversation. I'm not there's nothing that is charged up front by what we do.
Hmm. Of
It's all down to transaction. So if
course.
I've just talked somebody out of buying something, that's basically pushing a client out of door to a large extent. But the
It's the
right
right thing.
advice,
Of
but it was the
course.
right thing,
Yeah.
but the right advice brought that client back to me 6 months later
Yeah.
with the right practice. Because what I advised him was that you want a husband and wife set up.
Yeah.
You both want to work there clinically full time.
Hmm.
This practice is too small for you.
Okay. So,
You won't be able to do that in this. And it's not the right one unless you buy one each, but then you're not working together.
yeah.
Is that what you want? Yes, it is. This isn't the right one. You need a larger practice. And we almost had a little bit of some cross words because I know, but I really like it. It's like we can still buy it.
Yeah.
But is it right for you? And eventually, begrudgingly, he said, "Okay, fine," and he didn't buy it. But like I say, 6 months later, there was a practice.
Practice.
It was the right one. He's bought a second practice through me
Yeah.
since we play golf together.
Oh, nice.
Now, so he's become a friend, and hopefully he'll be coming to the Wesleyan golf day
Oh,
as
yeah.
well.
So
Um,
obviously that's planned for the future.
yeah,
Obviously, Wesleyan golf event, paddle event. I understand you do a lot of charitable donations as well for them.
yeah.
So I guess we'll be doing that as well on our behalf.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we set up the Stanford Foundation last year,
Lovely.
and that's part of the Stanford Group that's giving back.
Yeah,
And I'm really passionate about that.
it's good.
It was something that I actually thought, oh, maybe 5 or 10 years down the line, and businesses are really established, and I can take a step back. And then I actually thought, do you know what? There's no time like the present.
Of course.
Let's get it going now. And it
Yeah.
might be small. It might not be bringing in the massive amounts that a lot of charities
Yeah.
are, but every little helps.
But that's the key
And
thing. Every little helps.
that's
And
exactly what we've done.
awareness as well. That's
Yeah,
huge.
the awareness for certain charities, and this year we're just working on with my committee to see who we want to be supporting. So there'll be
Lovely.
three designated charities that we're working with through the course of this year.
Yeah.
We've already got certain events running.
I think it's what you mentioned there is key. Giving back is a huge thing. Doing the right thing. It just makes everyone happier and it's a nice place to work, especially for your employees. it's not all about making money, it's about doing the right thing, I guess.
Absolutely. And I very quickly last year started to focus so much on the foundation because I was enjoying that
Yeah,
and it's a different different feeling altogether to
it's
business. And I had to sort of reset and go, got to focus on my day job. Um, but that's all, it's all part and parcel.
yeah,
And, what we're looking to grow at the Stanford Group is something that, it supports and helps and it gives back.
definitely.
Because you've got the charity aspect, you've got the dental
Of
networking, you've
course.
got so many different bits and pieces and elements that it ticks. And
Mhm.
that's what we want to do. We don't just want to be head down business that's
Yeah,
just going 100 miles an hour, just about business, business, business. We want to enjoy what we're doing. We want to
that's it.
make the most of our
Of
network,
course.
and we want to bring people together.
I think that's the key thing. A lot of people now just sit at home, work from home. So actually going out and physically meeting people is crazy. Some people don't do that anymore.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's definitely a good thing to do for sure. And hence why we're doing this. And there'll be many more projects for the future for both of us.
absolutely. I'm looking forward to working
Yeah,
with you guys at Wesleyan, and building and developing our relationship moving forward.
definitely. Any other topics you think are quite important at the moment in this dental market for 2026 or?
I think there's aspects that are changing, and client demands are becoming slightly varied, and something that we talked about is incorporation as well, didn't
Of
we?
course.
Incorporation is becoming a
Huge.
hot topic.
Yeah.
Local area teams, the NHS are a bit more flexible now than they were a few
Mhm.
years ago.
True.
So in that regard, they're just people are sort of wanting to understand what and how, and
Yeah. Of
again, the planning and strategy around the how is so important
course.
because you for example, on the pension front,
That
a
was huge.
key conversation for anybody that's looking to potentially incorporate their
Yeah.
NHS contracts, because what is going to happen with that? And
Of
from
course.
my understanding, there could be, if they do it wrong, there's sort of irreversible damage
100%.
that can be caused.
Obviously, no more NHS pension, which is a huge benefit itself. Even incorporating is great, but then you're building all this money in a pot. Unfortunately, it's just losing money due to inflation.
Yeah,
And I have conversations. I had a client literally last week who was discussing. They've incorporated. They grew a lot of funds in their account, but I was like, "That's great. You've
mhm,
worked all this time and effort to grow this fund, grow this money. However, it's just sat in a cash account."
yeah,
And so I was like, "It's actually losing you money."
yeah,
So from cash flow modeling, I showed him, well, okay, in 10 years' time, your money would be worth this amount due
yeah,
to inflation. So what we can do is put that into an investment. If that's a pension, to move it tax efficiently, a corporate investment. And just from doing that, at least your money is growing for yourself.
yeah,
So if that's money for their objective of purchasing a practice
hmm,
or
hmm,
purchase a buy to let, whatever they have in plan for the future, at least it's growing for them.
yeah,
Especially pension wise. I speak to clients who don't even think about pensions till 10 years till their retirement
yeah,
sometimes. And it's scary. And I always say to a client, doing it first thing straight away is a good thing. It just gets you to that goal sooner. And the implications you have with it is huge.
yeah,
So it's a benefit for yourself. Like, no offense, but who wants to be paying money to the tax man?
yeah, yeah,
So by helping them reduce their tax liability, it's a plus plus
yeah,
and it's a win-win. So incorporation, I think, is a huge thing at this topic in time. But I do think a lot of the younger dentists, they don't understand the benefits with the NHS as much.
yeah,
And I think the NHS could do a little bit better explaining
yeah,
why it is a privilege to work for them, what are the
yeah,
benefits. Because I've had one client who just said, I don't know anything. So I just decided not to join the scheme.
yeah,
And I was like, well, you're doing fully NHS work. So it kind of makes sense to join the scheme.
yeah, yeah,
And from there, from that discussion only, he joined straight away.
yeah.
So again, I think it's a huge thing for 2026.
It's education.
Yeah,
And that's what it comes down to. Because if you think of a dentist's journey,
yeah,
they're working so hard. The academia is so important. They then go to university, they get qualified,
cool.
they come into practice. They're then doing a little bit of NHS and they're thinking about private. They're thinking about, that's where we want to go. They then start doing that. Then they're earning money. They're now mid to late 20s.
Yeah,
And have they really stopped to give the relevant thought to pensions,
cool. So yeah, it's true.
to the finances as a whole? And they haven't. and something that we find as well with dentists, especially associate dentists and young
Yeah,
dentists, because they when they come, they start earning good
good
money
money.
really quickly, and the spending habits, they've not really got control of them.
Course, yeah, no, see
They
it.
start to go from students to earning a load of money almost overnight, and that's a difficult thing to really control. And I think that that advice around the finances and pensions and
Definitely.
longer term planning, who in the 20s are really thinking about pensions and retirement planning? And
Honestly,
that's sometimes a problem, but that's where you need to
yeah.
start.
But that's the thing when I speak to all my clients, like I said, I never want a client to say to me, "Stephen, you didn't tell me about this,"
Yeah,
because you hear horror stories.
because they will say
Yeah, yeah.
that.
Like, why didn't you tell me not to put money into a pension? So when I like to do something called a lifeline with a client,
Okay.
so actually go through the beginning of the career, middle, the end. What do they plan? Is that purchasing and practice? Do more private work? Just do NHS contract, work for a
Yeah.
hospital, move abroad, whatever it could be.
Yeah.
Everyone's different. But when you do speak to a younger dentist and you talk about retirement, they don't know. They just say, "Oh, I've spent all this time getting my education. Now I'm working. I haven't even thought about retirement."
Yeah.
So when I do speak to clients in that scenario, I just say to them, "Well, have you thought about tax efficiency?" And let's be quite frank, to be a dentist, you kind of have to be a business person as well.
Yeah.
And you know, they don't really train you to become a business person because you're doing your own taxes,
Hmm.
your
Hmm.
own accounts.
Yeah.
So just having these little conversations and helping them understand, okay, well, there are things we can put in place,
Hmm.
and it matters where your journey is. You might not want a pension at this moment in time,
Yeah.
but just to know that I'm here when we need to, it's good for them to know as well, I think. Perfect. Well, thank you for coming today. Obviously, discussion today has been great. Obviously, we look forward to working with you for the future now. You are one of our partners, so we appreciate that. We obviously have the golf day, paddle day events. So yeah, thank you for coming in, and yeah, we'll see where 2026 takes us.
Yeah, absolute. My pleasure. It's been great. Great to talk. Great to discuss all things dentistry,
Perfect.
and I look forward to working with you guys moving forward.
Perfect.